The episode starts with Jivon looking at the pleasant scene outside the hospital window. She keeps staring until her friend comes and closes the window. Sumin is Jivon's best friend. She comes to Jivon and cheers her up and tells her that she should recover soon and she's always with her. Till then, a nurse comes and tells Jivon that it's time for her therapy. While taking her chemotherapy, Jivon wonders when was the last time that she was happy. She remembers her past, her wedding day, her regular fights with her husband who left his job, her mother-in-law taunting her of not having a child, her boss at work always scolding her health suddenly deteriorating, and later being diagnosed with 4-stage gastric cancer. In spite of this, her mother-in-law asking her to keep working and not let the company know about her illness. With this, Jivon wakes up as her therapy is over and heads towards the ward. When a hospital admin appears and tells Jivon to ask her guardian to pay the due hospital bills. Jivon calls her husband but he doesn't respond. So she texts him, but in vain, as there is no response from her husband. Jivon leaves on her own to her house. She takes a taxi. The taxi driver asks if she is too sick. He asks her not to worry as spring has arrived and soon she'll be okay. A sad Jivon replies that she is dying soon. The doctor said so. She only has a friend beside her. Her father died and her husband is good for nothing, who used all her money to pay his debts. The driver tells her not to worry and he'll take her on a ride on a beautiful path. He takes a U-turn and enters a tunnel. Jivon is puzzled but he asks her to trust him. They come out of the tunnel on a beautiful road. Jivon is mesmerized seeing the view. She feels good. Soon they reach the destination. Jivon hands over 10,000 won to the driver. He takes it and asks her to wait. He gives her the money back, telling her to think that her father gave her the money as allowance. Jivon initially hesitates but later accepts the money. The driver waves at Jivon and leaves. Jivon climbs the stairs and reaches the door of her house. She enters the house and is shocked to see Sumin's sandal. As she enters the house, she hears giggles. She overhears her husband telling Sumin how he used Jivon's medical insurance money for his business and to buy a bag for Sumin. Sumin tells him, let's buy a house using Jivon's insurance money when she dies. Jivon is shocked to hear this all and to see her husband and her best friend sharing the bed. Jivon then just yells at them, shocking them both. She starts throwing things at them, asking them how could they do this to her. Sumin tells her not to worry so much as she's going to die anyways. Then why not the living ones leave peacefully? Her husband Park Min Hwan comes in Sumin's support and lashes out at Jivon. He becomes aggressive and pushes Jivon. Jivon falls down on the glass teapot behind her and starts bleeding. While breathing her last, Jivon hears how her husband and her friend will turn this murder case into a natural death. She closes her eyes in sorrow. And the day is 12th April 2023. In the next scene, we see Jivon has tears in her eyes. And she suddenly opens her eyes only to see her husband Min Hwan in front of her. Shocked and puzzled, Jivon chases him and grabs him by his hair. Her boss intervenes and stops her. She then sees herself in the mirror and is shocked. She stumbles and falls down. Her hot kettle is about to fall on her. Just then her boss pushes the kettle with his hand. He picks her up. Jivon is angry to see Min Hwan and Sumin in front of her. She runs from there. On the way, she stumbles again and her boss comes to her rescue again. He asks her to calm down. That moment, after looking at the surrounding, Jivon realizes that this is the year 2013 and not 2023. Her boss stops her home. He gives her some money as she forgot her purse in the office. Jivon enters her house and checks the dates on the food products in the refrigerator. Her boss comes back and leaves a packet of food at the door. Jivon collects it. While eating the food, Jivon recollects all that has happened in the day. She tries to figure out what is real. The present day is not a dream as she knows her boss, Yoo Ji-hyuk, who later in 2021 takes over the company. Meanwhile, she takes out the money which Ji-hyuk gave her. But one note is the one the taxi driver gave her, on which there is a heart made, which is similar to what her father used to draw on the money. Jiwon realizes that the taxi driver was none other than her father. She cries remembering him. Suddenly, she hears someone opening the door. She rushes towards the door to only find out Park Min-won on the door. He asks her to come out with him to eat food. While eating, Min-won asks Jiwon about her behavior earlier and if it was her mood swing. He asks her when she got pregnant and if the child is his. Jiwon is shocked and then remembers that she couldn't digest food due to acidity and thought that she was pregnant. Min-won tells her not to take it in a wrong way. This is not the time to take a career break and have a baby. He asks her to do an abortion and he'll pay half of the bill. She tells him that she is not pregnant. It was acidity. Min-won is happy to know this. Jiwon suddenly asks him to break with her and leaves the table. An angry Min-won follows Jiwon. He pins her to the wall and questions her on why she is behaving so weird. He gets aggressive. Jiwon then yells for help. Few people come there. We then see both of them in police station. The police tells Jiwon that an argument between lovers should not come to the police. He addresses Min-won as a good man and asks Jiwon if she was even injured. A dissatisfied Jiwon questions the police and asks him to at least drop her back home. As soon as she reaches home, Jiwon thinks to elope, but she doesn't have enough savings to survive. Meanwhile, Min-won texts her and says sorry. He mentions investing in stocks in Roy Gentle. This reminds Jiwon of investing in Roy Gentle. She also goes for a scanning and thinks to keep herself healthy. She then visits a bookstore where she bumps into her boss, Ji-hook. Seeing the books taken by Jiwon, Ji-hook questions her if she is quitting the job. Jiwon denies and sees the wound on his hand and apologizes as it was because of her that he got hurt. Ji-hook tells her to buy him food if she is so sorry. They go for lunch in a restaurant. She thanks him for all he did for her yesterday. He asks her if she is really going to quit the job. Jiwon replies that she is considering it and not sure yet. Meanwhile, Sumin calls Jiwon, but Jiwon declines the call. Sumin gets irritated with this. Jiwon again sees the wound on Ji-hook's hand. It reminds her that the scar is similar to what she had on her hand. While leaving, Ji-hook thanks Jiwon for the lunch and also tells her that she is a talented employee and she should consider not quitting the job. Jiwon is touched by his words. Back home, Jiwon notes down her plans that she couldn't do earlier. The next day in the office, Jiwon avoids Min-won. She purchases stocks in Roy Gentle. Just then, Sumin comes and asks her why she didn't call her back. Jiwon makes some excuses and leaves as the manager calls her. The manager turns down her project. Jiwon just remembers that the same happened earlier. Her project was rejected and then Sumin took it from her and without making any changes proposed it. And later the manager accepted it. Sumin even got a promotion due to it. Later Jiwon goes to reprint the proposal. Her senior, Miss Yang, comes to drink coffee and leaves the mug on the edge of the table. It reminds Jiwon how she went to hold the falling cup and got hurt instead. So this time she dodges the obstacle and saves the cup from falling. She is happy that she did it. But later on, while avoiding Park Min-won, she gets hurt on the same spot, which makes her think that in spite of avoiding so much, she eventually got hurt, which means things that are bound to happen will happen. But the scar on her hand is now on Ji-hook's hand. After recollecting all the incidents, she comes to a conclusion that what is bound to happen will happen. It just needs to happen with somebody. And this time, no one else but it should be Sumin who should steal her fate. Jiwon concludes that Sumin should marry my husband. The episode ends here. Stay tuned for the next episode. Until then, subscribe my channel and press the notification bell for new updates. Thank you.